It has got the magic touch when it comes to trying to be harder, faster, and more mad. Morbid Angel and their album, Altars of Madness, from 1989. This is the first album in Morbid Angel's discography, with David Vincent on vocals and bass, Trey Azagothoth on guitars, Richard Brunel on guitars, and Pete Sandoval on drums. This, at the time, four-man band really knew how to shred and be inventive with some of their sound. Formed in 1983, Morbid Angel is still one of the early pioneers of death metal. Ever since 1986, they've been releasing demos, and during that year, they had one that was unreleased called Abominations of Desolation. This features songs that would appear on later albums, all except one, and it wasn't until 1991 when they released the so-called full-length album. And the song Demon Seed was introduced to metalheads. It was sung by Mike Browning. Browning eventually left the band and created Nocturnus. Anyway, this song featured death thrash elements that were all too common for back in the mid-80s to early 90s. It's a catchy song, and I love the hell out of Demon Seed. With official songs for the CD, this album runs around 40 minutes. A lot of the versions that don't contain the remixes also don't have Lord of Fever and Plagues, which is a crying shame because the whole album is a work of art, and that song is no exception. The first song I ever heard from Morbid Angel was Maze of Torment, and Maze of Torment still remains one of my favorites, if not my favorite. We'll see by the end. You can get lost in these songs as if you were in, what else? A maze. It is fast, hard, and the riffs, solos, and drums are so catchy. My second incursion into the worlds of Morbid Angel was Chapel of Ghouls. Chapel of Ghouls starts off strong, and the build-up doesn't last for too long until we're back into shred territory. Crush the holy priest before crushing your iPhone in a fistful of metal rage, because you're going to want to at least hear the rest of the album. If I'm not mistaken, my third trip into the realm of Altars of Madness was Visions from the Dark Side, and by that point I was into Morbid Angel big time. Those two songs prior were not enough to satisfy me, and by the end of 10th grade, I had the whole album on my iPhone. Bleed for the Devil starts off grinding and doesn't let up until the shred abilities of Azagothoth and Brunel on two unholy guitars reaches the end. The solos in the song are incredible. David is the god of gods on this album, and his act of repel against the church isn't done by writing a song and calling it blasphemy. It's done lyrically, and don't you forget it. But there's a song called Blasphemy, of course. The whole song of Blasphemy in its entirety, much like the rest, is fast. It is ultimately a catchy, chaotic chorus of bloody ballads. If you want the core song that makes this album what it is, listen to Evil Spells. Evil Spells combines elements of every song on this album. It's death metal with thrash elements. It captures the feeling that this band is working some magic. And for the final song on the CD, it is one hell of a way to go out. Dan Seagrave has been quoted as saying this album's artwork is a flat disc made of fossil material that has captured souls. I got the vibe that it was more of a vortex of otherworldly souls meshed together on a planet of madness. It does have this magical quality to it, and I know I keep saying magic, but seriously, there's some death metal wizardry going on with this album for it being so damn good. For a band coming out hot on the heels of Possessed, Death, Sepultura, and even Sarcophago, as well as a few others, they definitely created their own style. This was arguably faster than any other death metal band at the time, and it shows that they were a promising band that could strive for greatness. Not every album did, though. There have been a few bumps in the road, mostly as of recently, but one cannot forget the impact and influence this had on the death metal scene. and genre as a whole. Would I recommend this album? Friggin' hell yeah. It is not only old school death metal in its infancy, but it's catchy, fast, and intense. I've had a friend say it's just noise, which infuriates me to this day. For my time and money, I say if you like death and hell, even thrash metal, then I'm sure you'll get a kick or thrill out of Morbid Angel and their twisted album, Altars of Madness. My top 5 favorite songs on this album are: number 5, Lord of All Fevers and Plagues; number 4, Blasphemy; number 3, Evil Spells; number 2, Chapel of Ghouls; and number 1, Maze of Torment. Overall, I give Morbid Angel and their first album, Altars of Madness, a 4.5 out of 5. I am Brian Gatto, host of Horror Show Entertainment. Make sure to like my Facebook page in the description below to leave comments and subscribe.